The Lord of the Rings has become an icon movie when it comes to fantasy. We can all picture different characters without any problem. The roles have given some actors an everlasting fame and admiration, as well as a great amount of love and support from the Tolkien's trilogy fans. But the original cast could have looked completely different to what we know today. Here is a list of a few well-known actors who turned down the offer of playing in Peter Jackson's film, and not all of them consider it a good decision at present. At the time when Peter Jackson was preparing for the shooting of The Lord of the Rings, Nicolas Cage was a big name and took part in numerous projects. It is enough to mention just a few, like Snake Eyes or Con Air. He was a really busy man and desired name in any production. To nobody's surprise, he became a name on lists for the film's cast as Aragorn, the future king of Gondor. Although it seemed the proper thing to do right there and then, Cage eventually turned down the offer, explaining that there were some family obligations that he had to fulfill and therefore, in his life, there was no place for such a big project. It was not the only one he declined. The second was The Matrix. He said, "Both are great movies, but they both shot for great quantities of time, I mean years. Australia was The Matrix, and New Zealand was The Lord of the Rings." During his interview years on, he added, "There were different things going on in my life at the time that precluded me from being able to travel and be away from home for 3 years. The question remains, does he wish he had made a different decision? According to Cage himself, he has no regrets when it comes to The Lord of the Rings. He even mentioned, with a big dose of humor, that thanks to his choice, he can now take some time to actually watch the trilogy, as he would not have done if he had played in it himself. A lot of fans has also got a problem to imagine this particular actor in this particular role, but his further career put some questions to the picture. Hey, do you want your comment to be tagged at the end of the next film? Make sure you have subscribed to our channel, liked it, and turned the notices on. What's more, leave a comment that says, "It's my lucky day." When Peter Jackson turned his eye on Christopher Plummer and wanted him to become Gandalf in his series, it must have looked like a great thing, as he had always been a huge fan of that particular fantasy story. But this never worked out. Plummer decided not to take part in this project, as he could not imagine having to spend 3 years in New Zealand, where most of the scenes were filmed. At his age, it would have been a great engagement, and, as Plummer said during an interview with Conan O'Brien, "I thought there were other countries I would like to visit before I croak." He did not seem jealous or profoundly sorry because of his decision, and what is more, he said a few really nice words about the work in creation, performed by Ian McKellen, who has eventually become the Great Wizard. Plummer's career did not suffer or slow down either. In 2005, he was nominated for Primetime Emmy thanks to his role in Our Fathers. He's also the oldest Oscar winner in the Best Supporting Actor category, which he obtained in 2012. He did not stop there and have been nominated again in 2018 in the same category. Sean Connery, a Scottish actor loved and admired by many, have admitted along the way that he has no idea what The Lord of the Rings is truly about. Even though he has read the book and seen the trilogy, that kind of a story is just not his cup of tea. It may be for the good, as some people claim, because somehow they cannot imagine Gandalf speaking with a thick Scottish accent. However, Peter Jackson offered this role to Connery at the first place. It must have been quite tempting, because the paycheck for the actor was supposed to sum up around $30 million, and, on the top of that, he was presented with the possibility to get 15% of box office profits. Knowing how incredibly successful the film has become, the decision to turn it down can definitely be described as costly. Luckily for Ian McKellen, who was next in line, Sean Connery did not take the chance on that role. Later on, in 2012, he repeated his previous statement and confirmed that it just had not been something for him. During the same conversation, the actor mentioned that McKellen was wonderful as Tolkien's wizard. Well, Sean Connery has always been a great Scottish gentleman, and that is how he behaved commenting on the matter. Daniel Day-Lewis was also one of the actors taken under consideration by the director Peter Jackson. Although the latter tried to approach him a few times, nothing could persuade the actor to take the role of Aragorn. It was not just one attempt and one conversation, but still the idea of ruling the Middle-earth did not come true in his case. The situation was described on the site ran by the Lord of the Rings fans called The One Ring. We can read there that producers and people involved in the project just knew it would not pass. Day-Lewis himself commented on the situation years later, when he stated that he had not been involved enough in such stories to go on with it. He also mentioned that spending a lot of time on one project can end up in becoming resentful and bored, and that was something he had never wanted to go through. He did not seem anyhow bothered by the fact that he had turned down a role in something that big and meaningful, and calmly presented the reasons behind his decision. The role of Aragorn has been offered to a few actors. One of them was Russell Crowe. However, the production of The Lord of the Rings had already been short on money at the time and could not offer anything big to the actor. They tried to make up for the situation by presenting him a possibility to have a piece of a total income instead. What did not seem tempting enough then seems like a huge mistake at the time being. We can only imagine the amounts summing up after the trilogy has become such a success. Russell Crowe admitted that years later, during his speech at Durham University, he made one small but meaningful comment when he mentioned that taking that part would have made him stop doing such presentations in the future. Does that sound like regretting? For us, definitely yes. In 2019, during an interview with Howard Stern, he said, "I didn't think Peter Jackson actually wanted me on the film, because I think he was forced into talking to me, because there was a moment in time when I knew everybody wanted me in everything." So does that mean the actor decided to take a higher road here? Costly decision for sure. In the late 90s, when Jackson was listing the cast, Kate Winslet seemed like a natural choice. She had already been nominated for the Oscars after appearing in Sense and Sensibility and Titanic, as well as had been connected with the director by taking part in Heavenly Creatures in 1994. But those facts brought up other issues like, for example, the lack of time. Being Elwyn, a Rohan shield maiden, could have been tempting for many, but it was not attractive enough for Winslet at that time. There is an email sent by Michael DeLuca, which says, "Winslet is unavailable, I'm afraid. I think she passed on the project due to the length of time it takes. Enough to say, so have many others. She has nothing to be sorry though. Although she eventually did not become a part of the Tolkien's magical world, she went on with another projects and ended up with incredible success. We can now see her in numerous productions." Do you remember the incredible warrior from the land of forests and wizards? Yes, here she is. Lucy Lawless played the role of Xena, warrior princess, and we could see her in the fantasy world way before Peter Jackson had her in mind. It might have been some kind of a natural choice, but sometimes life has a different scenario prepared for us, and there is not much we can actually do. Lucy Lawless was just about to start her family at the time when the list of cast for The Lord of the Rings was being created. The pregnant actress decided to put her future baby first, and did not even make it to the audition. She later explained that when a family and children are involved, her mind is decided and she knows what's more important for her. It is not worth risking children's emotions, leaving them for longer, or putting them aside, even when it comes to such a proposal. She later on had some second thoughts though, claiming that she might have passed on a great chance and that the world of big films might not wait for her forever. Resigning from the Tolkien story could cost her a great future in the film business. We did not hear the words of pure regret, but that little hints can show that some of it might be hidden underneath. She has not played in many pictures after that, and stayed in people's minds still as the princess from the early 90s. But she is not the only actress who has put her motherhood first. For some, the decisions connected with particular roles are difficult to make when it comes to family matters. That was the reason why Uma Thurman had to turn down Jackson's offer when he wanted her to play Elwyn. She would have been perfect for the role, but at the time, she and her husband, Ethan Hawke, had just had their first baby. Therefore, it became a quite natural decision to stay home and look after her daughter. However, a few years later, during her appearance on MTV in 2008, Uma Thurman showed that she regretted that decision. Trying to find some proper explanation, she said, "Yeah, I was asked. It just caught me at the wrong moment. I wish I had done it. Oh, I truly wish I could have been able to take that plunge, and maybe I should have, but I just couldn't at the time." Some spicy taste can be added to that situation from the past if we take under consideration the fact that her now ex-husband Ethan Hawke had also been proposed a role in Jackson's production. According to Hawke himself, Such proposal came to him pretty much at the same time when Thurman turned her down. He was supposed to take up a role of Faramir, who is a brother of Boromir in The Lord of the Rings. Being a fan of Tolkien's books, Hawke seemed quite excited with the opportunity. So what really happened, and why at the end of the role was taken not by him, but by an Australian actor, Tom Bombadil? What made the actor to eventually skip on the part in that movie? Probably just as his then wife, Uma Thurman. Hawke was a truly devoted father and could not imagine leaving his family for a longer time. But he may also have some regrets in that matter, especially that we could read his own words mentioning that as an actor he does not feel fulfilled and wishes he could get some kind of a role of a lifetime in the future. Well, in the end, The Lord of the Rings might have given him such chance.